walk us through this. When you go up and you're knocking on doors, what kind of, the phrase they would use is, what universe are you focused on? Are you focusing on low prop voters? Are you focusing on high propensity voters? What's it look like in terms of the strategy?
Yeah, so right now we're targeting low propensity Republicans and also Republicans that have requested mail-in ballots that they have not returned yet. Obviously, that leads to some issues because if they haven't returned their mail-in ballot, they have to do a provisional ballot on election day, which gets counted last, which is the worst case scenario. So if you've requested that mail-in ballot and you haven't returned it, we're trying to collect those. We can only handle a couple at a time, but we're trying to make sure those people go and do that themselves as well. And then also low propensity Republican voters that are only maybe voting in presidential years, but we're trying to get them excited for Jack now and get them to vote for him this time.
And so, okay, so walk us through then, what are you hearing? What are you seeing? You're going up, you're making those direct connections with people on the ground when you go up there. And by the way, if it's a low propensity, I love to hear what makes them want to kind of come off the sidelines, get involved and vote for Jack Ciattarelli.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think in general, people in New Jersey are really tired of what's been going on here. They're tired of high prices. They're tired of their neighbors moving out. I mean, that's something I hear all the time. People are tired of high crime and they just want change. And so we encourage them to say, okay, look, this is your opportunity to make change, honestly, even more so than voting in a presidential year, because it's directly about what's going on locally for you. Here, where we are as well, there's a mayor's race going on in this town that we're in, and we're trying to encourage people to vote for the Republican candidate, Sid. And that's a big change for people here as well. So that's something that we see, and we talk to a lot of people. Some people aren't as interested in voting, but we try to encourage them, again, to use their civic right, to get involved. And if they're tired of what's going on, we urge them to vote for change.
Now, when we're looking at some of this, now I understand you're up there in Hudson County. You're very close to Newark. That's where Barack Obama was last week. And some of the reports that I'm getting out of there say that he couldn't even fill a high school gymnasium in Newark. This is supposed to be one of the bluest areas. This is Senator Cory Booker's, where he was mayor before he became Spartacus, of course, as we all know. Is it true that Barack Obama couldn't even fill a high school gym in Newark?
Well, look, I wasn't there. Did not want to be there. I actually was outdoor knocking that day instead. But the bottom line is Obama hasn't been on the ballot for over 10 years at this point. The fact that they're trying to use him to rile up voters is very confusing, but also maybe telling to where the Democrats think that they are in this race. And that's something I find very interesting. But what I will say is people were trying to use Barack Obama on the Democrat side to get out the black vote. And many polls have come out that Ciattarelli is winning with black voters currently. And so that's something that I found very fascinating and honestly found to be unexpected, but also I find that to be very hopeful for us and our cause and our team.
Well, look, and you saw this as well last year with especially black male voters not coming off for Kamala Harris, saying, look, it's basically like, you're not seeing this huge swing for Republicans, but it's like they just don't want to associate with the Democrats anymore. And who could blame them? And so it doesn't surprise me at all that they brought Barack Obama out. Joe Biden, though, of course, was on the ballot more recently in New Jersey. He actually, I ran the numbers on this. He got 500,000 more votes than Barack Obama did in 2020 versus 2012. Kind of interesting that Joe Biden, even though he's on the ballot so recently, or Kamala Harris, who was just on the ballot a year ago, not even involved in the race whatsoever. And I think what they're really doing, honestly, is they're trying to do everything they can to distract from what is going on right across the river. Because even though Obama would stand with Abigail Schamberger, and even though he would stand with Mikey Sherrill, who was he not standing with? He only did a phone call with Zoran Mandami right across the river from where you're at.
Yeah, it's something I find to be so interesting, but also noticing that the Democrats are trying to walk away from Joe Biden. I mean, Kamala trying to say, I didn't like him, I didn't agree with him. They're trying to run away from him. But yeah, if he was so popular in New Jersey, that should be the person that they're using here for this governor's race. And we've seen no sign of Biden coming out here. So Again, I don't know what the strategy is. And I've also heard from a lot of people in this state that are traditionally Democrat voters that just don't think Cheryl is a good candidate and are not interested in voting for her. So I'm very curious to know what the number of Democrats that are going to come over and vote Republican this time, because I think there's a lot more than people want to give credit for.
No, I think you're going to see those crossover voters as well. And just talking to some of the folks out of Lakewood, New Jersey yesterday who came over to join us at Toms River, I think, and maybe you can get a sense of this as well, because I know you cover down in New York as well as New Jersey. It seems to me like there might even be something of a Mamdani backlash going on from the voters of New Jersey, because they see how radical and how far left the mayor of New York is about to become.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting to see. I mean, we maybe won't see that this election, but if Mamdani does go and win tomorrow, I think that the Stefanik race in 2026 for governor of New York is going to be something to watch. And I think that a lot of voters are going to see Mamdani firsthand and say, okay, we want a governor in place that can check him, that can be better, that can bring change in a good way, not in the radical way that Mamdani is advocating for. And I think it'll be very interesting to watch. And that's obviously a race that I'm watching closely myself. And I think that there's a lot of interesting dynamics going on in New York. I know that it's kind of an upsetting situation, but that's something I'm also watching closely.
Well, look, it's very clear to me that Mamdani is a guy who's just a full-throated Marxist, and his Marxism, of course, is to focus on the recent immigrants, or shall we say, the gimme-grants, who have come over to say, we don't want to build things, we want to take from those who are successful, people that we've decided to target through cultural Marxism, who are predominantly white, Christian, straight males. And if you're someone who falls into those categories, then it is open season on you. That is the politics of resentment, which is the opposite of everything that Charlie Kirk stood for.
Exactly that. And the interesting thing is if Mamdani wins, it'll actually encourage more Democrats to go and be more radical. And that's something that we don't want, obviously. We want them to be able to come to center and have conversations. But if he sets a precedent that he can come out and win, we might see other Democrats at the local level, at the federal level, wanting to be more radical in his footsteps. And I think that that's a very dangerous way to go down. I think he stands for a lot of anti-American values. And I think as a daughter of an immigrant myself, I think that he is a disgusting version of immigration to this country. That's not what we should stand. We should want people who immigrate here that love America, want to be in this country, and want to stand for American values. And Mamdani does not do that.